Hi, welcome to It's All Relational with Reanne and Jacob. And we have some fun topics to talk about today.
Hello, everyone.
That's all?
We are here.
Yep, we are here. So, what are we talking about today, Jacob?
So today, our topic is love that lasts, nurturing healthy relationships with frequent check-ins and better communication.
It's very appropriate that we're doing this because it's one thing that...
We're always working on.
Yeah, we can say it that way.
Yeah.
We're not struggling.
Yeah.
No, it's always a work in progress, for sure.
Yes. Always. Life is always a work in progress.
You always... Yeah, and it's a choice to be in a marriage and everything. So every relationship we have, there's a choice, right? So like we get to exercise that choice every single day. So that's what we're talking about nurturing the healthy relationship through frequent check-ins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And better communication. So that's our
Correct.
topic today. But before we like dive in too deep, let's do a quick update.
Okay, what are we updating today?
Well, what were the best 3 things that happened to you since our last podcast? Which it's been a couple weeks. So you can draw on you have a little bit more to draw on. And we're only looking for 3, so it shouldn't be too hard.
No, it shouldn't be too hard. We've actually spent a lot of time with each other this week, which has been a lot of fun. And outside of like the normal, sit on the couch, watch Netflix or a movie or something like that, like we actually have gone and done other things this week, which was pretty exciting. Work has gone really, really well. And I believe our spark is being reignited this week. So,
and a spark can make it like happy-go-lucky, or a spark can be meaning sassy.
Or just a combination of everything.
Yeah. So, okay. So say it one more time.
Say what?
A lot of more. We've been spending more time together. That's one.
Yes.
The spark is alive.
Uh-huh.
What else at work?
And work has been going really well. I just got another raise.
I know, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, like in 4 months, I have changed positions, and I got a raise. So that's pretty exciting.
My man's the bomb.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for the follow, Kelly Finn. Welcome to the show.
So, I love this because it's been a minute, and the reason why we didn't do podcast last week is because I was so drained.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't drained. That's not the right word.
We didn't have the headspace for it.
Well, so last week I did I did the first part of my NLP training to learn tools and stuff to be able to better help myself and the other people around me. And so I'm getting certified so that I can help people with these tools and stuff, and I'm super excited. But it's a lot of shifting. Like your mind gets opened up.
Yeah.
Really, really well, and it's cool. And you start recognizing things and your perspective. It's really awesome. I love it. So that was one of the best things for me. I got to go see some ladies at a group that I used to be a part of, and I want to be a part of again up in Ogden, Seroptimist.
Yeah.
And we talked about like helping people. I love Seroptimist. It's a service organization. So
we recently donated to a GoFundMe for someone who was in an accident.
Yeah. So Like, yep. But that's not one of my best things.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was like, oh yeah, there's another good thing we did this. Sorry. This is what happens when we take too long in between.
Yeah.
Out of practice.
And we, even though the circumstances were not ideal, we had the opportunity to talk to extended family and start planning our holidays this week. So I have something to look forward to in the next few weeks, being able to spend time with family. And yeah, I'm excited. We started our holiday
planning.
Yeah. And it's cool because we can actually go see family, which we haven't been able to do for a minute.
A few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's actually realistic now that I have paid time off instead of not having any money for the week.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
No, it's good. We are truly blessed, and I'm super grateful.
Yeah, me too.
So, okay. Well, if you've enjoyed any of our previous episodes and want to keep up to date on any of our latest releases, don't forget to go ahead and like, subscribe, as well as share this episode with any family or friends. And we would really appreciate the support. Especially if you hear anything in this podcast that you think could help family or friends, spread the word.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, we're kind of entertaining too, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes. I think so. I think most of the time we're entertaining.
Who knows? We might break out in a fight on this, and I'm just kidding.
No,
we won't
I
do
don't
that.
think so.
But we are going to keep it. We're going to keep it honest, right, babe?
Absolutely.
We're going to keep it honest. So. Anyway, so why don't you start us off?
Oh, before we move on, we have a couple more minutes. We want to get through that first 10 minutes for YouTube before we start getting into anything. We are also now live on X, also known as Twitter. So we are also live over there as well.
I didn't even know. See, this is why I
didn't know it either. Like, it updated and it said, hey, would you like to add your X account? I was like, heck yes, I do.
Okay, so I'm not going to lie. I'm just super grateful that my husband is keeping up to date on how to keep all of this streaming and all that stuff going, because I don't want to.
Fair enough.
But yay, we're on X. And we will eventually get on Apple. That's something I got to do.
Yeah.
I know you're waiting on me.
You got this. No worries.
Anyway, and we get to go do something fun tonight. Jacob's Job is sponsoring. They're a sponsor at the Delta Center. And so we get to go sit in a box seat.
Yep. We're doing a concert.
I don't know. It's free. It's fun. There's going to be food there, so I'm okay.
Food and people. Food
and people. I don't know any of these people, but
that's the whole part of the fun is we get to know them.
I know.
So, but yeah, definitely help us with the algorithms, everybody. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching this video later, definitely smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with family and friends. Trying to think if there is any other updates we need to share. I can't think of any.
Okay.
So I think.
So do you want to start us off on?
Oh, thank you for the 25 followers on Facebook. That was pretty exciting. We broke 20 followers.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have 20 followers on YouTube, on Facebook.
We want more.
We're moving right along.
Yeah.
We got quite a bit of views on Facebook, which is pretty exciting. So.
Woohoo.
Yeah. It's good stuff happening. So thank you for the support, guys. Y'all.
Danke.
Muy importante.
That has nothing to do with thank you.
Dankeschön.
Muy importante hasn't. Okay, anyway. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to talk about the importance of marriages because, marriage is one of those societal things that I don't know. Like, good things happen when people are in marriages and have the supportive family and everything. And so there is now I haven't read through this article completely, but granted, there's non-healthy marriages that are detrimental to society, and there's healthy marriages. And so
Right.
why is it in our best interest, Jacob, do you think, to promote healthy marriages?
Because that is the foundation and building blocks of creating the next generation and to create new human beings that aren't going to be buttholes.
Now, keep in mind, Jacob and I have not had the pleasure or blessing of being able to be biological parents to anybody, but we like the cool aunt and uncle role.
Yeah.
But
So you want me to pull up this website? Is that what you want me to do? You have links in here. Did you want me to pull those up? Or?
Yeah, so we can review it.
Okay.
So as you can tell, Jacob and I
Judy.
have been struggling a little bit with our communication this week. We did a check-in yesterday, but
We did.
and we learned of some things that we need to work on together. But communication is maybe one of those.
Okay. So what is it about this particular?
So this article that I found on Maripedia talks about the effects of marriage on society. And so this is I thought this was really interesting, maybe demonstrate why marriage is helpful to society. So obviously it helps establish strong families. Married people are more likely to give and receive support from their parents and more likely to consider their parents as a means for possible support in case of an emergency. So, I don't know where all these, this is all referenced in the article.
Okay.
So it's good to do that. But so some of these key things I think are important to help society function and be safe for just everybody in general. And so it's kind of interesting to see how families and healthy marriages impact society as a whole. So the first one is obviously strong family units, right? Generational strength through family units, which is good. Social science. So number 2 is church. Social science shows that marriage has important implications for religious practice. Direct marriage instead of cohabitation prior to marriage. So direct marriage has a positive effect on religious participation in young adults. Young adults raised in happily married families are more religious than young adults raised in step families and attend religious services more frequently than those raised in divorced families. Young adults whose parents divorced prior to the age of 15 are much more likely than others to identify as spiritual but not religious. So, church is an interesting situation considering the fact that America was founded on freedom of religion. Right? That was the main purpose of the exploratory colonization of the Americas. Or people wanted freedom of religion, so they came over to the Americas to settle. And so it's kind of a core integral part of America. And so marriage helps in maintaining strong values, right? And church attendance where people can get a sense of community, right? Community is important. And so any thoughts on that, Jacob?
Which part?
any of like the participation in church and how that's important too.
Oh, I think it is good. I think for the most part, religious belief and spiritual beliefs can be a good foundation and base for people to have a happy, relatively fulfilling life. But I don't think that's the only thing. I think there are people that aren't religious that have relatively happy lives.
Well, yeah, it's not saying that
But-
people who don't go to church don't, but it's saying how marriage helps provide more security and spiritual stability,
Right. Yeah.
right? So that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy marriages often will produce children who are more engaged with school and in the learning process, because it says a greater fraction of children from intact married families earn mostly A's in school. I mean, obviously there's outliers, but having a healthy marriage sets your kids up for success and everything. This is kind of interesting. Government and survey data overwhelmingly document that married parent households work, earn, and save at a significantly higher rate than other family households, as well as pay most of all income taxes collected by the government. So the government definitely has a vested interest in healthy relationships, obviously. Which is weird, because if that were the case, you'd think that they'd do more to, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, kind of where we're at in the politisphere. It's an
interesting.
Sounds kind of
I don't want to get too. I don't want to get
what's
too.
being spread right now. Yeah, we don't want to get too political.
We're not getting
it's
political.
Supposed to be a relationship.
We're just saying.
Podcast.
We're just saying the facts. And again, this article references studies and everything. But
Right.
Here's the other thing: married men are more likely to work than cohabitating men. And married fathers work more hours than cohabitating fathers. Okay, that
makes sense. More of a vested interest once they're unified.
This is interesting. Children living with their biological cohabitating parents are 263% more likely to experience poverty than children living with their two biological married parents, which is interesting. I don't know why that would be the case, but who knows? Family intactness has a negative influence on or reduces in areas fraction of 25 to 54-year-olds and minors receiving public health care. So basically, when you have healthy relationships, they're seeing a direct correlation on overall health care and the impact on accessing like government sponsored healthcare and stuff.
So there's a lot more self-reliance and a lot more accountability.
Well, you're relying more on your immediate support system than the government, right?
Right.
This is cool. Marriage may diminish individual propensity to commit crime. I thought that was interesting. Married men are less likely to commit crimes, mainly I think because there's more of a commitment to and there's more of that feeling of responsibility, so they're less likely to be risky in their behavior. So like as you can, there's been some interesting. So like there's some societal benefits just for each individual couple to have, why we should be interested in helping and
right
having healthy relationships, right? Healthy marriages, intact family, nuclear family. That's all super important.
Yeah, and statistically, when families are are unified and they are healthy, they benefit everybody. They benefit themselves, their future. It benefits the community. It benefits their in their religious affairs, their workplace. Like, it affects everything to the point where it shines brightly on everything and everyone that's around them.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the reason why we call this podcast It's All Relational is because literally everything we do relates to everything
Right.
we experience. Even the thoughts we say, the words we use, everything. So, and people say, well, keep that personal stuff at home. You know what? You guys, I don't care who you are. Like, there's no separation. Your life is your life. Some people are really good at it, but that sometimes can scare me because maybe they're the serial killer that, like, no, I'm just kidding. But it's important to understand you don't want to fragment yourself or who you are. You're still the same person when you show up to work as you were when you were getting ready in the morning with your family. Right. And if that starts the day off kind of crappy, it can impact, or it cannot. It depends on what you choose. But more often than not, most people, it does impact them. And what I found is so interesting is, like, there were some topics when I looked up, like, how a strong marriage positively impacts individuals, families, and society, right? There were some, but there wasn't a ton of results. But when I did a Google search on, like, common myths or challenges, misconceptions about marriage, man, there were so many, like, clickbaity, like apparently that's a hot topic and everybody loves to look that stuff up because there's, like, a lot of blogs and all that sort of stuff. But it's interesting. Some of the same things are said over a couple different articles. And
are we going to go over these?
Yeah, let's go over them. Let's talk about some of these myths or misconceptions.
Myths and misconceptions.
Some people think are. And I look at these and I'm like, well, duh, that's a no-brainer. But then again, I've been married. So, and it's kind of interesting. So some of these are like no-brainers, but let's talk about them because obviously they're still out there.
Yeah.
Silly. So I'm looking at the
myths one, or you're looking at the misconceptions?
I'm looking at the top 10 myths about marriage right now.
Myths. Got it.
Or 10 common misconceptions.
10 common misconceptions. Okay, got it.
Wait. Yep, that one.
This one.
Okay, sorry. Just got to make sure we're on the same page.
Heck yes.
Making sure we're mastering that communication. Okay, sorry, I'm being stupid. Okay, I'm not being stupid. I'm just being silly.
That's it.
That's the more correct phrase.
That is the correct phrase.
So one of them, like, marriage should resemble the wedding day. Obviously, that's not going to happen because you plan months for a freaking wedding day and it's done in a day. Like, I don't know.
So are you doing the misconceptions or the myths? Because it looked like you just started reading from the misconceptions, not the myths.
I'm doing misconceptions.
Okay, let's do the misconceptions first. Good grief.
Okay, so apparently we're not getting on the same page.
No, our communication is in a breakdown, apparently.
No, we just need to,
We just need to sync back up.
The misconception, marriage shouldn't be work. Like, who thinks that marriage isn't work? I'm curious. Like, do people think, oh, I'm just so in love and they get me? I don't understand that.
Well, think how it's portrayed in, like, in social media. People only show you the best side and the good side of themselves. In TV, film, movies, like, it's always, like, way overdone, way over the top, super expensive, like this whole fairy tale kind of endeavor. And then you think that once you have had the marriage, you've been unified and everybody goes home, you do your honeymoon, you come back home, go back to work, that everything is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's just not the reality.
It's not. But then part of me says, like, but you can make it that way. Like, it could be your reality if you wanted it to be. But I don't know.
I don't think there's anybody out there that has a perfect marriage.
Perfect in imperfection. Perfectly imperfect, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so, like, instead of saying marriage is 50-50, it should be 100-100. And I agree with that. Like, it should be, but what's really hard is sometimes people aren't operating at their best, right? So, like, maybe some days I show up and I'm like, hey, babe, I only got like 20%.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to point out, is that there's not really any such thing as 100-100, because there's only 100% of the pie. So if you're taking one slice and I'm taking two slices, that's a different portion of the pie. So when you say 100-100, you don't have two pies to take from. And it makes more sense if you talk about it in like 100 as the interval. And there are going to be days where it is going to be 50-50. There's going to be days where, we don't have a brain space and it's going to be 20-80. Yeah. So this common misconception of, it should be 100-100 doesn't make any sense. Number one. Number two, it can't be equal, because especially if, like, depending on the way different relationships are set up. So some relationships like ours, like we both work. So we split the house chores by levels, and like we do certain things with the trash, certain things with the dishes, and so we've divvied it up in a way that makes sense for us. But there are going to be times where like, let's say you have a migraine and on the weekend, and you're probably not going to be able to do much.
I don't want to do much.
So then it would be beneficial if I took more of that piece when you're down. There's also the other thing where
which you're really good at doing. Thank you,
babe. I do work hard at that. There's the other thing too, is that when there's a relationship where like one of the spouses is working full time, the other spouse is staying home to take care of the kids, to cook and clean and stuff like that. That's just another portion of the pie. And the thing is that it's not a matter of, well, who does more or who does less, because if you keep score, that's really going to be terrible for your relationship.
Keeping score is not healthy.
And the work that's around the house, especially if you do have a traditional, one spouse goes and works, the other spouse stays home, full-time parent. It's going to be divvied up differently than like a split. And people need to understand and realize that it's different. And it doesn't mean that somebody's has more or less because one person works more and the other person stays home and cooks and cleans and takes care of the kids, make sure they get to soccer practice and stuff like that. Now, when the other spouse comes home, they kind of start, picking up where the other spouse left off, and you start working it together and being co-parents and stuff like that. But it's important not to keep score and to be like, oh, well, I'm doing 80%. Why are you doing 20%?
And sometimes that's hard, because that's like what our natural inclination is. And if if people aren't doing a check-in, like if we don't do our check-in and stuff, we might start getting a little bit irritated with each other, which we had run into that because we skipped our check-in 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And so it's really good that we had one this weekend.
Yeah. So the next misconception is marriage will automatically make you closer as a couple. Wrong. It'll make you closer, but it could be closer in irritation, closer in I don't know. It can.
Well, and depending how you went about, getting together, whether you lived together before you got married or stuff like that, because once you become a part of the the household with another person, it's a completely different ball game, and so you have to navigate that very carefully.
Well, and it's like we've fallen into those states where it's like we've kind of just become roommates.
Yeah.
like, because neither of us were willing to put in the work to make the relationship work.
Yeah, whether it be stress, whether it be things going on in your life at work, whether it be family issues, it could be a lot of things that kind of pushes you away from each other, and you start kind of slipping into that roommate phase, which really sucks. You have to kind of get it back. But it's just like anything else in this world. If you want something to be beneficial in your life, you're going to have to work at it each and every day. You got to make the choice each and every day, because when you stop making that choice, you start kind of sliding backwards, and you have to get caught back up in the relationship status. So
yeah, and so I'm gonna kind of. It's true. You gotta work. I'm gonna maybe skip a few of these because they're silly.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you and your spouse are a unit and no longer individuals. So this is a big one.
Yeah.
Because I am an only child. So this is a deal for me. So I'm an only child. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. Obviously. But I also lived alone for a while and everything. And I am a very solitary person in a lot of respects.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like to maintain a certain amount of individual.
In self-sufficiency and individuality.
Yeah, like that's a big deal for me. Not sure why, but it is. And I like to have friends, and I like to go out and have fun too. And you are not a person that goes out and has a lot of fun with friends and stuff. Like, that's just not.
No.
Like,
no,
you're different.
As I've gotten older, the whole going out and hanging out with friends thing is not something, because I'm also working towards something. And so that takes up a lot of the brain space. And so throughout the week, I'll be, editing the video.
Yeah.
I'll be creating clips. I'll be, doing stuff on my personal stuff to put up, TikToks and clips to kind of help promote it and stuff like that. So there's always constantly things for me to do. And
but
so
that's
I don't
still
always.
Something... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't always set up enough time for me to go out and do stuff with my buddies.
Yeah.
And now that we've moved away from some of my buddies, it's even harder now, because now I have to make new buddies.
Right. So moving a lot. We've moved a lot in the 10 years we've been married.
Yeah.
And like, we're getting to the point where we don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But we're still working towards some things. But being everything to one person is a lot of responsibility, and it's really, really hard. And honestly, you shouldn't be everything to one person, because that can create a very unhealthy balance. And
especially if you're not sure about each other's boundaries, yes, that can become toxic. But if you do know each other's boundaries, like cooperative dependency that's non-toxic can actually be very healthy, because you help each other out. You pick up the slack when the other person is struggling. You also, while the other person is struggling, you can help them through the thing. But as far as like, I'm going to be a little silly on this, but not the, oh my goodness, if you're not here, I'm going to die. That gets a little wonky.
It gets, it's healthy to keep relationships outside of the marriage and spend time on relationships and fostering relationships outside of the marriage. And that includes with like extended family and stuff too.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Especially with family that you're close to and that are also non-toxic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have friends. Absolutely. You need to have friends. You need to have hobbies. You need to have things that you can do with each other, but you also need to have things that you can do without each other.
Right.
Because you are two individuals who are yoked, as they say in the scriptures, to one purpose, which is to have a healthy marriage, to have a healthy...
Look at you getting all...
philosophical? I know. What can I say?
Theological,
yeah.
Okay, so one of the other topics is you can change your partner. Yeah. Nope. Don't even think about it.
That's a red flag.
Yep.
And if you can't see it, hopefully somebody else will see it. But yeah, if you're going into the partnership with, I'm going to change this man or I'm going to change this woman, I'm going to domesticate that stallion, I'm going to domesticate that mare. That's not how it works.
You can change how you interact with each other so you're more productive, but
True.
I know I'm not going to change Jacob's love of video games.
No, probably not. But I am really good at, managing my time and managing your expectations so it doesn't get in the way of the relationship.
Well, and that's honestly what it is. You got to manage your expectations of each other. Because I think that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't change your partner, but you can change your expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't expect too much from me, you might not be let down.
But there can be a healthy expectation of meeting each other's needs in partnership, as long as they're both agreed upon. Right?
Yes.
And if not, then that's on you guys.
That's why you do your check-ins.
Yeah. Oh, snap.
So do we want to go over our check-in list that we have, or
let's just talk about a couple of things, a few more. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The whole, because this feeds into the check-ins and why they're so crucial, because people think like, oh, once I'm married, okay. One thing that's a big deal, your spouse is not responsible for making you feel better.
Oh yeah, that is so important. Like,
dude, how you feel is on you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to feel the way that you're going to feel, but
now their actions may make you feel a certain way, but how you choose to react and how to feel about them is on you.
Yeah, it's about accountability.
And then it's also on you.
You're accountable for yourself.
Right. And if it's like, I don't like the way that makes me feel, well, if it's bad enough, then you need to communicate with your partner, and it's on them whether they agree to make adjustments or not.
Right.
But that's the whole point of the check-ins. Right.
Correct.
But like, either you can change how you feel about, like, once you've communicated how you feel about a certain behavior or topic or whatever, if your partner chooses not to adjust behavior and stuff, like, that's on them, which is fine. But you also have the choice to choose how you feel about it. So like, if you're super insecure about the way they behave in public or whatever, because like, I don't know, there's so many examples, I don't want to go into a ton, but like, as long as everybody in the marriage, which is generally two people, there are some other people, there are people who have like the plural marriage thing, but as long as the people in
that are what do they call it, polyamorous
or polygamous or
mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything, but as long as there's communication and stuff, life is so much easier when everybody takes responsibility for their own feelings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, extreme accountability in that respect is so important. And you can't expect your freaking spouse to read your mind.
What?
Even though I try all the time. I like sit there, Jacob, just go do this or whatever.
I really hope that you pick up the trash that's sitting on the counter.
Yes. Jacob, that thing that you left sitting on the counter needs to be put in the trash. Why don't you just put it in the trash? Just do it.
Why are you still sitting on the couch?
It doesn't work.
You should know what I'm thinking.
Yeah. The other thing, kids do not improve the marriage. If anything,
makes it more difficult.
It will make it blindingly obvious where you guys need to do some work on the marriage. And like,
that's so true. That is so true.
We can speak to this somewhat, even though we didn't have biological children, we were foster parents, and I will tell you that made it glaringly obvious to us where we had some holes
we need to work
in
on
our
some
relationship.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And you need to put each other first. And I know that sounds selfish, and I know that sounds wrong, but you need to put your spouse first while you're raising your kids, and that example will carry on with them into their own when they get older.
I don't know how I feel about that entire statement, but
if you want a healthy marriage, you got to keep. What do we talk about? You got to keep working at it. You got to choose every day.
You got to choose.
You got to do your check-ins. You got to do all these different things.
And I don't know if you have to choose your spouse first, but you definitely have to prioritize them.
That's okay. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
So thank you for clarifying.
No, that's okay. Language is important because when you say put your spouse first, that's kind of going back to your spouse is the everything, and that kind of creates the unhealthy dynamic. So prioritizing your spouse, like prioritize yourself, prioritize your spouse.
Yeah.
And together you can prioritize everyone else in the family.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's yeah.
You can continue your social life as it is.
Okay. Let's just do that. Like if you want a healthy marriage, girls, you can't be going out seeking attention from other dudes, and dudes, you can't be looking at other girls on the gram or whatever. Like obviously you can't. It's just, you could, but it's not a healthy marriage. It doesn't lead to a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes. If you're constantly like every day looking at TikToks, looking at Instagrams, looking at
why isn't she like this
and videos, and be like, why isn't my wife like this? That's going to change the way that your brain works when you are with your spouse, and we would highly recommend staying away from that.
And girls, like
especially corn on the cob. Stay away from that at all cost.
It goes to show that my brain is not in the gutter at all, because it took me forever to figure out what the crap you were saying about corn. Okay, sorry guys. That was a little bit of a squirrel moment.
It gets in your teeth.
This is a big one. Marriage has to be perfect or it's a failure. Wrong.
Marriage will always be imperfect, so
and one person
celebrate the imperfections.
Yeah, marriage is different for every single couple.
Yeah.
Like legit, just because your mom and dad had one type of relationship or behaved this way or whatever, it doesn't mean that's how your relationship is going to work. And it doesn't have to look one way or the other. It really does not. And the sooner you let go of what success is for your marriage, or what a perfect marriage is to you, not let go, but like you're clear on what a perfect marriage looks like for you. Right. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. Right. And it doesn't have to be the same as so-and-so down the street or whatever.
Yeah. You can't try to keep keeping up with the Joneses. That's not going to be healthy.
And if it's not perfect, that's okay. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means you have another opportunity to make a different decision.
It just means that it also just means that it's different. Like, just because you may argue less or more with your spouse than your friends doesn't mean that it's any more valid or invalid. It just means that it's different, and you need to just keep working at it.
Well, okay, so like we go through flows, right?
Yes. We go through ebbs and flows.
So just because we're in a low flow doesn't mean we're failing.
Correct.
Just because we don't have sex every single day doesn't mean our marriage is failing.
Right, because one frequency for one couple feels healthy, while another frequency for another couple might be different.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the couple. Some people have more adult intimacy with each other. Some have less adult intimacy with each other.
And here's the thing. When we come into marriage, we each have ideals. Mm-hmm. Like when people come into a relationship, they each came with their own set of filters, their own set of biases and experiences and everything that they filter everything through. Right. And so this is why check-ins are important, because you both come with two different sets and have had different experiences. And when that comes together,
it's the clash of the titans.
It could be. It could be. But it does require some communication to see how those filters and experiences and everything mesh together and what that means for you in your relationship.
Right.
And that's why we do the check-ins, because it became abundantly clear that we both had different ideas of different things. We defined things differently a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was causing miscommunication. It was causing
disagreements.
It was causing apathy. It was causing distance. Like, it was causing a bunch of different things where we became roommates instead of
partners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we were working on it, and when I say we became roommates, meaning we just went through a low flow. It's not like...
Right. No, I see what you're saying.
We didn't fail. It made it...
We're having some disconnects.
Yeah.
And we need to reconnect.
So that's why we do the check-ins. Now, shout out to the To Be Better podcast that gave us the idea, but we've gone through and kind of modified the relationship check-in.
Yeah.
But they matter because they allow you to get on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've realized in doing some of my NLP and doing some of the reading I've done, I've come up with, like, I have different perspectives and ways and approaches to things than Jacob does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair for me to have him expect, or it's not fair of me to expect that he knows what I know.
Right.
And is going to apply the information the same way and everything. And so that's why these check-ins are so invaluable to marriage. Like, they're just...
Oh, I figured another one. That's a common misconception.
What's that?
Or a common myth. You don't take your baggage with you when you get married.
Well, now, hold on.
Because I brought all of my... when I say
did.
baggage, I mean like your childhood trauma. You bring your relationship traumas, your the way that your parents raised you or did not raise you, like all of the quirks and everything that you've learned up to that point, you're bringing that along with you. Is what I'm saying.
So you're bringing the filters and the experiences and stuff, like you're
current
bringing
programming, everything.
Yes.
You're bringing everything with you.
You're bringing your current programming, and you don't know what programming your partner had versus what you had. So I like that better, because it's like, I don't want to call it baggage, because sometimes it's not baggage. Because here's the thing, you can reprogram yourself. And so some people who are awesome and in life or whatever have gone through and reprogrammed themselves to be the perfect mate. I don't know. You never know with people. But chances are, just in the current state, whatever, the chances of somebody having their shiz all together before they come into marriage is like...
The likeliness of that happening is pretty low.
It's pretty low.
But in our experience,
we're not going to say it can't happen.
No. Yeah.
There's anomalies and everything.
You're always going to have those outliers that are just super amazing and really great at everything that they do, and they just get into a relationship and they're just...
Yeah, like me, right?
They're just fantastic.
Yeah, anyway.
Sure, there are people out there, but more oftentimes than not.
So we've decided to do these check-ins, and it's kind of awesome because we've gotten quicker at them for sure.
Yeah, they went from an all-day thing to maybe a few hours.
I know. We thought we were going to be in it for the long haul yesterday when we did our check-in, and it was done in like less than an hour.
Yeah.
And that was even with the distraction of making phone calls.
This is true. Yeah.
Like, we were even making phone calls in between because Jacob's grandmother passed away this last week.
Yeah, she did.
And so we've been dealing with...
figuring out, getting out to the family out in Phoenix.
When the funeral's going to be, or the celebration of life, I should say.
Life celebration, yes.
Yeah, and everything. So... like some of this stuff came up in our check-in, and so we were like, okay, let's do this while we're thinking about it. We know that our family's somewhat available because of the Saturday, blah, blah, blah.
Right. But before we continue, this is probably a good place to let you all know that this week's episode is sponsored by viewers like you. So we just want to say again, thank you so much for all the support. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video, to leave us a comment, share it, all that wonderful stuff. Make sure to follow, subscribe to everything, rate us 5 over on Spotify. All that really helps the algorithm so that our show gets out there. And of course, the more followers we get, the more opportunities we'll have to do more cool stuff like this with you guys. So we just want to thank you. We also want to talk a little bit about our affiliate link that is in the description down below, which is doTERRA, the M&N Meta Power supplement. Why don't you tell us a little bit more? NMN.
Not M&M.
NMN.
NMN.
M&M?
No.
Marshall Mathers?
No.
Okay. So, Rianne, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I'm going to use the restroom real quick, and then we'll be right back.
So I love the MetaPower. If anything, I can always tell when I don't take it. It helps with brain fog. It helps with joint pain. It helps with muscle recovery. NMN is a really awesome supplement. And it comes in the MetaPower sachets, which is awesome. It helps you regulate blood sugar. It helps you with a bunch of other stuff. Like you can go look up Andrew Huberman. He talks about NMN on lots of different podcasts and everything as well. So the benefits of NMN that you can find in the doTERRA MetaPower is awesome. And I really love it. It helps my nail growth. In fact, I don't know if you can tell, like they're growing like crazy. I got to go get them done again. Joint pain, everything like that. It's solid. I love it.
Yep. Helps with recovery, especially in those long days at work. If you're standing a lot on your feet, helps with inflammation. It helps with a lot of wonderful things.
It helps with metabolic processes and everything in the body. And I don't know. I just love it. And taking it consistently has helped with so much. So I highly recommend, if you want to try it out and everything, just click the link down below, get yourself a box, try it out and see what happens.
If you would like a sample, definitely shoot us an email.
Yeah, shoot us an email. We'll send you some samples.
Yes.
For sure.
It's Reanne, REANNE .itsallrelational@gmail.com.
Yay. Okay, did you need to go potty?
Yep, we will be right back. So don't go away, and we will go over line by line our check-ins and finish up with communication. So we will be right back.
back.
And we are back. Let's go ahead and I will pull up our relationship check-in here so you guys can see, and we'll kind of go over with you guys of how we do this thing. Okay, I guess I'll start.
Sorry.
Reanne, what are you doing over there?
Sorry.
All right, so we
I
have...
was just finishing managing my Amazon subscription.
You're good. For some reason, my Amazon subscription to my multivitamin didn't come in this month, and it wasn't scheduled, so I had to order it. That's why we have a shipment coming tomorrow for my multivitamin. So, anyways. All right. So this is our checklist check-in. We have some additional stuff here. It looks kind of similar to the To Be Better because it is, of course, inspired by them. We tried to add some additional things here to also consider. So we're going to kind of go over this. So this first portion, we had an additional mental and emotional section, but we decided to combine both of those because it seemed like it was redundant, and emotional and mental kind of
they're kind of the same thing.
the same
It was redundant.
thing
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So, all right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel safe with me? I think that's something that's really important to talk about, especially when it comes to men. You want your spouse to feel safe with you, to feel safe around you, so that they feel that the kids are safe around you, things like that. I think that's something that's really important to talk about and to kind of get on the same page with that. Scale of 1 to 10, just basically a simple sliding scale. 10 being the greatest or the most positive, and 1 being the most negative or the most dark, I guess. Anything you want to add on that, sweetheart? Or are you still looking at your Amazon stuff? For a second there, I thought your camera stopped. That was strange.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like it looked like you froze. It was really funny. All right. How well am I doing as your significant other? Scale of 1 to 10.
And that's a pretty broad question for a reason.
Yes, because it could mean different things to different people.
Right. How is your mental health?
Also important because like where you're at
Sorry,
mentally and emotionally is really important in a relationship. And so if you're in low energy, if you're, in the negative portion of the scale, like on your mental health, like ideally you want to be between like most people are probably going to be between like a 6 and an 8 most times. If you're going below 6, that's definitely cause for concern, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would
be
say
different because maybe somebody's used to operating at a 6. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's times where I've been at 6 and lower. But that's really important to talk about that kind of stuff. And if you're not in a good mental health state or emotional state, you need to talk about that with your significant other. And obviously you do need to take steps for yourself to go through it. And if it's at the point where you can't work it out with yourself and your spouse can't help you to work out with it, it might be time to seek outside influences, whether that's self-help books, whether that's seminars, whether that's possibly going into therapy. These are things that you need to consider.
Well, yeah, and that's why I love NLP is because you literally, or this training I'm doing, you literally have tools.
Right.
To work through some of this stuff, and I love it. It's awesome. One thing we didn't mention, though.
Ooh, what did we miss?
When you are doing your check-ins, it's really, 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 really important that you make sure that you're very intentional with it. Okay? Like...
And open and honest.
Open and honest. And
without judgment or.
And
Sorry.
the reason is because you both want to be in a state that's happy, that's positive, or at least neutral. So, like, it's not the ideal time to do a check-in if one of you is like in a really irritable space, or like just super like it's got to be intentional. And if you are in an irritable space, you got to come to the table with an understanding that you're still going to be open to feedback.
Yeah. And you might not like it, but need to be open to it.
Right. And like feedback is super positive, but you've got to be open to it. And you've got to be willing to not come at your spouse aggressive, right? So one, you got to be open to the feedback. And then two, you've got to make sure you're coming at a place and setting the intention of I'm coming to better myself and better our relationship.
Right.
And not show up just to sit and point out everything that the other person is doing wrong,
right,
or be upset about it or whatever. Like you've got to come at it. Like this is the first step you've got to do before you start asking all these questions. Because what happens when you ask the question, how well am I meeting your mental health needs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, it's your responsibility to handle your mental health. But how well is your partner, and maybe we need to change that, how well am I doing in supporting you in your mental health? I think that would be a better question.
Mm-hmm.
Because mental health is 100% on you as an individual. But that doesn't mean that you have to be out there alone and without support. And being able to come to an environment where you can ask these hard questions and receive the potentially hard feedback. Like yesterday, we had some potentially hard feedback for each other.
Yeah.
And it was a short one. But the thing is like the minute we say check-in, we know we're associating that with, okay, this is how we have agreed to show up in these. Mm-hmm. And
we're going to be open, we're going to be honest,
yes.
And we're going to be objective.
Yes, as possible. And if it turns into like you've got to really argue or hash something out, then like you're in a space and an intention where that's where that's supposed to be taking place. That's safe. And the minute it doesn't feel safe, or the minute it doesn't feel like that's what's happening and you're just arguing for arguing's sake, end it.
Take a break. Yeah.
End the check-in, because it's no longer being what it's intended for.
Right.
It's not in that energy and space it's being intended for.
Right. It's a building. It's supposed to be building, not breaking down.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, even though we haven't done a check-in in a minute, like we've offered each other to do a check-in.
Yeah.
But like at one point you weren't in the headspace, and at one point I wasn't in the headspace.
Which is why we skipped.
And we took a break. Mm-hmm. And we both did what we needed to do to get in the space that we could come together and have these conversations very easily.
Yeah.
So that is like number one, the art of doing these check-ins is making sure you are being intentional and you are showing up in the space of, I'm working on myself and on this relationship. And we're creating an opportunity to get the feedback to be able to do that.
Right. So I went ahead and reworded it. So it says, how well am I supporting you in your mental health?
See, I like that so much better.
That's more service towards your partner, and that's more because we are responsible for our own.
Right. And
stuff.
it's not assuming the responsibility of our partner's mental health.
Right. Because it's not my job to
make me
to
happy.
make you happy or better your mental health.
Right. That's
but
all on
there
me.
are things that you could ask for me to do that could assist you in it.
And could support me.
Correct.
Right. And that's what these check-ins are for.
Yep.
And be willing to be vulnerable. And some people really have a hard time with that. But I will tell you, like, the more people you can be vulnerable with, the better.
Yeah.
And
because otherwise you're not getting open
you're
and
not
honest.
connecting,
You're not
right?
getting connection.
Or authenticity, right? Like
Yeah.
your check-ins is when you got to show up and be willing to be as authentic as possible and true to yourself as possible. So I do love that.
So this question is redundant then. What have I been doing well at?
No, because you know what? That's actually okay, so changing it to
In supporting you.
What have I been doing well in supporting your
mental health.
Your mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, so just
supporting take out you in.
Take out you in supporting your mental health?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
You got it.
Okay. You guys see we're learning and growing and making a change.
Yeah.
First of all. And this is so we can be more in integrity, right? Like we don't want to take on the responsibility of our partner's mental health because one, that's not healthy for them and it's not healthy for us. And that's when you become you're everything and codependent and it can just get crazy.
It becomes toxic codependency because cooperative dependency can be healthy because you are being cooperative together.
Right.
You are becoming one in a lot of ways. But it can lead to toxic codependency for sure.
Yeah.
So you do got to keep an eye on that.
some of the tools that we use also in our check-ins is a change of environment.
Yep.
One thing that I have noticed has been really helpful for us.
We go on drives.
Driving, like doing it in the car. One, because we're a captive audience. Two, it's easier to alleviate distraction because you shouldn't have distractions when you're driving anyway, right? You can have conversation, but you don't have the distraction of like sitting and scrolling on the phone or whatever. Like it creates an environment of focus in a lot of ways. So that's a tool that has worked for us. But like I've noticed it's easy for us to do check-ins when we're not in our home.
Yeah.
And I think partly maybe that's because we're not sitting and looking at like things that the other person didn't do or whatever. Or our home has like, we have spots where like, this is where we sit and relax. This is where we read. This is our office and stuff. And so we want to kind of protect those energies
in those spaces.
Right. For that. And so like finding a space that's specific for you to do these is totally a useful tool, and it has been for us. And for us, it's on car drives. Like we like to go up to the mountains and everything, and so
we like to drive the canyons.
We go to our happy places quite literally in the car. And as we are going to our happy place, we're focused on happy and what we want in our relationship. Like it just puts us in the perfect mindset for that.
Yeah.
And so, and maybe yesterday went kind of fast because we weren't going to our happy place. We were helping out a friend.
Yeah, that is true.
But we still utilized the opportunity.
Yeah, it was still a beautiful drive. So it was a good opportunity to take it and do it then.
But here's the thing. The great thing about these check-ins is you do what works for you.
Yeah.
And like
walk the path that works best for you and your partner.
Like these questions we have found kind of help us check in, and we might change it up and stuff because
it might be different next month. I mean,
because we're getting better at communicating in the moment with some of these things because we've laid the foundation of like, when I give you this feedback, you don't need to internalize it. This is just this is just me saying I need this, or saying you doing this bothers me. Can we figure out a solution? Kind of thing.
Right.
But you can take and ask different questions or whatever. But I think the biggest thing is the art of doing these check-ins is being intentional.
Yeah. And having an open dialogue.
Yes. And being very intentional and taking the time and the space to create that sense of safety and security.
And that's why it's important that we have not only, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well are we doing, but also having open-ended questions where we can really get deep.
Yeah.
Which is good. So the follow-up question after that one was, what can I do to assist you in your mental health? So like if there is something
Right.
that
So
we're
like
not doing.
if
Like this is the opportunity to be like, yes, I need your help I need your assistance with this.
right. So like in a scale of 1 to 10, how am I supporting you in mental health? That's a scale of 1 to 10, and you can elaborate then. But then that last question is, what can I do to assist you with your mental health? Like that leaves it open for specific feedback.
Right.
And it can be as a feedback as like, this is what I've been going with, and honestly all I need from you is to give me space.
Right.
Or when I say not right now, literally it's not right now.
Right.
And just honoring that. And it's a good opportunity to set boundaries, adjust boundaries, or say, hey, I don't need that boundary so much anymore. Like it's no longer an issue for me. Like,
yeah, exactly.
can we explore something different?
Exactly.
So, okay.
All right. So this is our physical section.
This is fun.
How would you rate our non-adult intimacy? So this is outside of the bedroom.
The non-intercourse intimacy.
Yes. We're trying to keep it.
Intercourse is an easy word. It's not.
I don't know how that will work on YouTube, but it's fine.
Okay.
That's why.
We're like over an hour in.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to be as cryptic as we can in some things so that we don't hurt the algorithm.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Okay. Sorry.
So that's why we're saying corn. That's why we're saying
Gotcha.
Adult intimacy or
okay.
Yeah.
So this is a good one because as a woman, if I don't have if I don't feel intimate with you, like my attraction to you isn't that high, and my ability to engage in the fun intimacy is not as high. And I like there's lots of other reasons and stuff. And so that's why it's important to have that non-physical intimacy. So that's why we asked that question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be physical intimacy, like such as touching, hugs, kisses, pat on the back, a rub on the shoulder,
or just tickle my arm,
or just light tickling on
play with my
the
hair.
arms, or running your fingers through your hair, things like that.
But doing that without the expectation of intimacy is interesting.
That is the highlight and the point of having non-adult physical intimacy, because there shouldn't be an expectation set with, oh, well, if we're touching, that means the expectation is going further.
And what's funny is I never assume that. Like,
yeah.
I make Jacob have to be extremely overt in his
and demonstrative
in his desire.
My desire to get to adult intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have that, so that, you know, when you make it painfully obvious, you go, oh, okay, now I know what's going on.
But not to worry, we do have a question that touches on the how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our life?
Our spice life.
Our spicy life.
Our adult intimacy.
Yeah. I like spicy. Let's say spicy.
Yeah. That spicy works for me.
Yeah, let's do spicy. So how would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our spicy life? And so, you know what?
Yes.
Let's be honest. That question can be like at an 8 for somebody and like at a 2 for somebody else. And like, you know what? You get to figure that out. And that's important because spicy life is a big part of marriage.
Yes. And the frequency that works well for your partnership is what works well and is healthy for your partnership, because
some people having
statistically
spicy life,
it's not one and the same. Like,
yeah,
it's different from one partner to another. For some partners, the frequency, you know, is twice a day. For some, it's, you know, once or twice a week. For some, it's once or twice a month, and they feel that that's healthy for them.
Well, and to be honest, sometimes there are people who don't have the ability to have spicy life due to injury, illness, whatever.
Yeah, true.
But it's still an important part. And you do need to be willing and able to explore that for a healthy marriage.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
I think that's all we can say about that.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought that was perfect, honestly.
We're so good.
We're so good at this.
Sorry.
Are
I'm
you
so
still
goofy
happy? Are you still happy with the division of housework?
Oh.
And obviously these 1 to 10s you can always follow up with, okay, well, why is it an X number?
Well, see, actually you should say on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with the division of housework? Because are you still happy with the division of housework is a yes or no question. So we got to rephrase that.
Okay. How did you want me to rephrase it again?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Well, I already have that at the end. So
how happy are you?
How happy are you?
Uh-huh.
How happy
are you
with the division of housework? And you could follow up with that if you're below a 6 or whatever is normal or for your
guys, this
partnership.
This is the one where Jacob would usually probably say like 2 and I would say like 8 because he is such a champ and like he does laundry, he helps with dishes, he takes out the trash. Like I hate laundry, dishes, and those things that never seem to be done.
Yep.
Yeah, like I hate those type of chores, and he's a champ and he does them.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful.
And since what was that? Was that a razor? Some of our neighbor's razors just like whizzed by.
Please pardon the excess noise.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Fine.
Now that the sun's gone down, you look nice and bright on the picture now. Yeah, we really need to get those curtains up so our lighting doesn't change throughout the podcast. Anyway, squirrel. Excuse me.
Okay.
So that's really important one to talk about because every relationship is different. Some may look at it and feel like, oh, housework isn't really that big of a deal for me, so I can take on more. And for some people, it's not, and they need to take on less. This will vary from one partnership to another.
Yeah.
So it's important to sit down and talk about, okay, what's going to be the most reasonable when we divvy this up.
Yeah. So this is really awesome. And I will say the first few times we did our check-in, it took a long time because we had a lot to discuss. But once we've discussed it, we've kind of got things established. This literally just provides an opportunity for you to make adjustments as needed.
Right.
Now, the good thing is check-ins are important, but they don't have to take a ton of time or effort if you're doing them frequently enough. Right. So people say, I don't have time to do that. Well, if you don't have time to do this, then what is that saying about your partnership?
Relationship? Yeah. That says a lot. If you can't make the time to do your check-ins
and be intentional
at least every other week, there's some big major questions and discussions you need to have.
Now, keep in mind, I get it. People have families and kids and all that sort of stuff, but do your best. Even if you're only checking in with one question a week for a minute.
Yeah. That's a great idea, actually.
Even if you're just breaking it down and just doing one question but you take some time and actually focus on the question and really hash it out and figure that out, right?
Or set a timer. Just say, hey, we're taking an hour each weekend on Sunday nights.
Yeah, and
we're gonna do it for an hour until that timer goes off. We're having this, we're having these.
And even if you get through just one question, or even say, okay, we got to revisit this same question next week. Let's pick it up.
Right.
Whatever. Just make time to do it.
Yes. However much time you feel like you can dedicate it, you need to dedicate time to it.
Okay, let's go over the last 2 questions.
All right. What have I done well to meet your physical needs?
So this is another open-ended question.
Yes.
And this is a good opportunity to give positive feedback, right? Positive feedback is so important. You get what you focus on. So if all you're focusing on is the shiz, then that's what you're going to end up focusing on when you do your check-ins, and that's stupid.
Right.
So that's why these questions are super awesome, because it's giving us an opportunity, one, to go inside and look at that side of our spouse, especially if it's been tense and irritable or whatever, things have been, going through their thing. This literally, you want to ask questions that force you to look at what's been going well too, because guaranteed there is some good stuff. And it's important for us to exercise that muscle in our brain to be able to recognize the good things that are happening in our marriage. And so,
amen.
Yes. High five, babe. High five. Where's the anyway. And then is there anything I can do to better assist you in our
is there anything I can do as your partner to better our relationship's physical needs?
We might have to think about that one just a little, or rephrase that one just a little bit. Is there anything I can do better as your partner to address
I feel like it's just a rephrasing and not like changing it at all.
It is a rephrasing, but anyway, we'll take a better look.
But
anyway,
I could
it's
shorten
just,
it.
Yeah,
anything I can do as your partner. Well, I think we kind of do that at the end, though.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, we can reconsider
forward.
that later. But some other things to consider and to think about. These can be a really big deal or not a big deal, depending on the different parts of your relationship. So like spirituality, when it comes to your beliefs, your rituals, the things that you do for your community, church, stuff like that, I think can definitely hinder a relationship. Especially if you're in a high demanding religion. So that's something to consider. Children also will change things. So it's if you do have children, that's something you should probably talk about.
Yeah, 100% make sure you're on the same page, especially with what's going on with your kids.
Yeah.
And take the opportunity to do that with your check-ins.
Yep. Love languages. What are the 4 love languages, sweetie?
5.
What are the 5 love languages?
Physical touch.
Okay.
Acts of service.
Okay.
Gifts.
Okay.
Quality time.
Okay.
Oh,
well. While you're looking that up.
I thought I had it memorized.
I thought you had it memorized too. That's why I put you on the spot. I apologize. But that's something really to consider, because people's love languages are either one or an amalgamation of multiple of those. So it's important to talk to your partner about.
Everybody has a primary and a secondary.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
That's what I meant.
Words of affirmation.
Okay.
Physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service.
Yep.
It was words of affirmation that I forgot.
Okay. Good deal. So yeah, those are really important. So
and basically, if you guys don't know, I mean this has been around for over 20 plus years, but some people don't know about it. And it's important to know how your significant other feels love, right? So this is basically
gives and receives.
Right. So you may give, and 99% of the time you give love how you receive it.
We're talking about non-spicy, just to be clear.
Right. Like to feel feelings.
Non-spicy love emotions.
Right. So how you communicate love, like I give words of affirmation because
you like receiving words of affirmation,
mm-hmm.
which is something that we work, really hard on. So when we see things, we say things.
And I know quality time
mm-hmm.
is a big thing for me.
Yep.
Yours are physical touch.
Yep.
And what?
What were the other ones again? Sorry.
Words of affirmation, receiving gifts, quality time, or acts of service. I know physical touch is one.
Acts of service, because I see house chores as acts of service.
That's true.
So when you're doing the things that you say that you're doing, you say that you're going to do around the house, that shows me that you love me, that you love our relationship, you love our home.
I'm working on our relationship.
You're working on our relationship. So yeah, I would say acts of service.
So we we each have two very different
Yeah.
love languages, and we've learned how to communicate those a little bit better. But see, even I didn't really know what Jacob's secondary was. I know physical touch is one, but sometimes physical touch for me sometimes is not an option because of where I'm at or whatever. Like I just
Emotional, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be touched. It's irritating for me. So that's why it's important for me to know what his secondary is, so I can maybe put more emphasis on that when I'm not able to provide the physical touch for a minute.
Right.
And really, that's just on me. I got to get out of my own head and do that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much personal responsibility, and I think the biggest thing in relationships is being willing to be self-aware, work on yourself, and be open to the feedback.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, if you're working on being your best self and you're open to feedback, I feel like that's the biggest. Those are the two biggest things that help. I mean, and those are the two things you have control over in a relationship.
Right.
You can't control your spouse.
You can only be in control of you.
Right. So you can't control your spouse at all. But as long as you're both on the agreement that we're both going to work to be our best self and to be vulnerable and receive feedback from each other.
That was really strange. It's on Do Not Disturb, and somehow a phone call came in.
Well, maybe you need to answer it because that's your mom.
I will call her back when we're done.
Okay.
So another one to think of, extended family. So family in general, obviously, but also extended family. There have been times where people need to have people leave their lives because for whatever reason, they can't come to terms. They can't, meet each other, can't get on the same page. And for whatever reason, it's toxic and they have to, unfortunately, remove that person from their lives. And they
for
have
a
to
moment.
stop.
Sometimes it's only for a minute.
Sometimes it's
for
just
a
a temporary thing. Sometimes it's a temporary thing, but sometimes it's something that you just need to exit out of your life. And so it's important to discuss with your partner about, things that could occur with that, the aftermath of that, could be really temperamental. So it's definitely something to think about for sure. Family vacations and day trips, also something to consider because people, sometimes we can be different. We're on vacation or have different expectations on vacations.
Yeah, and we talked about that in one of our other episodes on our relationship with travel.
Yes. So it's important to, make sure you have your expectations set out. Social media is really important as well in a relationship. So like something that we don't do is we don't put spicy content out into the interwebs.
No.
And we also are both on the same page to not consume spicy content from the internet.
Yep.
Because we know that when we're not looking at that stuff and we're not consuming it, it betters our relationship and our outlook, and our love increases and our intimacy increases. And
there are so many studies on the dangers of corn on the mind.
But not even that, even women in two-piece bathing suits can evoke those kinds of emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
So that's something to definitely think about. Work-life balance. That's something that you had to learn.
Oh, dude, don't.
I think at one point you were working two jobs. You had 5 different organizations that were nonprofit you were working with.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have children, so I think I had this perception that I had to keep myself busy in order to bring value and blah blah blah, and that was on me. I'm rewriting all of those beliefs. I don't even have them anymore, and it's interesting because I did have a severe addiction to work.
Yeah.
And
You did not know the meaning of the word of no for a minute. With
Anyway.
work-life balance is
Yeah.
what I'm focusing on.
So but hey, it took me being in a relationship to learn that. So it's all good. And then there's school. If you're in school, hobbies, like what hobbies do you enjoy together? What hobbies do you enjoy apart? What do you need for that? Like Jacob loves video games. I do not. But it's important, like, I'm not one of those hardcore, like, you can't play video games, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, hey, I would appreciate it if you prioritize me over this. And if you need, like, I need some time to myself, he needs time to himself. Like, it's okay. As long as we understand that we're each other's priority, right?
Right.
And we've had to have lots of discussions around that, and that's fine. And sometimes these discussions and check-ins are really important because I don't think people realize how often they assume what their partner is thinking or doing in the relationship. And so, like, there was a time when we had a heated discussion over video games, and then he assumed that I didn't want him playing video games ever again, and I would be mad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm that's not the case. I just was trying. And so it took us having those conversations and check-ins.
Yeah.
And like, don't assume I like don't want you happy, or that I want what I want 100% of the time. Like, it makes me happy to make you happy, but you have to speak up and let me know what makes you happy.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah kind of thing. So it was learning that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And I way overreacted when we had that first.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a check-in. It wasn't quite the argument. And I made a really bad decision, and I deleted and lost access to all of my channels I had built over the years. Like, I was averaging between like 30 and 50 viewers on Twitch.
And I never asked him to do that.
And she never asked me to do that. I assumed. I did the
And then
thing.
he resented me for it.
I did.
And that was an issue. But I never asked him to do that. I just said I want to be a priority. But it didn't come out until we did.
It was also a trigger to past trauma from a previous relationship as well.
Right. Well, yeah.
So, but I didn't understand or realize that until it got heated and blew up.
Yeah.
And I overreacted and did something stupid.
But we've both overreacted and have done stupid stuff.
Yes.
But that's why these check-ins are important.
Oh my gosh. Since we've done these check-ins, we blow up a lot less. We have a lot less heated arguments in the moment. We have a lot more grace for each other. We do. Well. We really do. We really do.
In fact, today, like, we were getting a little short and testy with each other. And what did you say you were going to call me when I was being petty, to call me out on it?
Petty Patty.
So he's like, I'm going to call you Petty Patty. And I'm like, fine, I'm going to call you Petty Peter. So now when we say, all right, Petty Peter, it's that's the agreed upon. Or he says, okay, Petty Patty. Like, that's our cue
that we're being petty and we're being
we need, like, our reactions or our irritability with each other isn't necessarily warranted, and that's our way of being able to call each other out in the moment without eliciting a blow up. Because it's funny and it's a pre-agreed type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so you can make it fun.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, like having specific words that you use if you're being overly stimulated in some areas or some place.
Yeah.
That's always like working like with family, or if you're in a place that has a lot of high, crazy energy. School. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had a full load of school on top of work, on top of having a family, on top of having a spouse, on top of having, you know, a high demanding religion, on top of having a high demanding family. Like, that could stack up really, really quickly. So, you know, setting expectations like for school and stuff like that, if you're going to go back to school, or if you're currently going to school. Hobbies, also really important. Community is also can be a big thing as well.
Well, I don't know if it's a big thing, but just how we interact in the community or how we want to show up in the community as a couple kind of
Mhm.
thing is important. And that we're on the same page with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And cultural, kind of the same thing as community.
Very similar to like religious beliefs
Yeah.
in some aspects. But yeah, culturally, like it could be, a really big change if you're having a relationship with those kinds of things. So, all right. And then on to the conclusion. This is just to kind of ensure you guys have finished everything. It's kind of like a double check to make sure you guys have gone over everything. So overall, how is our relationship going on a scale of 1 to 10? So just overall,
How would we rate our relationship?
how would you rate it? Yep. And this is a good time to ask, did we miss anything? Because oftentimes we do. Like oftentimes we aren't always conscious in the moment in understanding and figuring out what's going on in a relationship.
Or
And we
that
have
you
to
forget.
ask those or you forget.
But the more you do these and stuff, the more you're like, oh, I'm going to talk about that during check-in. And it
Yeah, exactly.
it gets easier and easier, right?
exactly.
It's like a muscle. You work it.
Yep.
And then one thing is expressing gratitude for each other is imperative. And being mindful of the things we're grateful for from the other person is a huge thing.
Yeah. Like you
Like
don't.
it's science. There's tons of studies out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll list them later.
Yeah,
But
you don't want to do the run of the mill crap sandwich, but at the end you definitely want to express gratitude for each other.
right, and be specific. Like the more specific, it's like, oh, I'm grateful you're my wife. Okay, you said that last time. Well, yeah. Like the more specific you are and authentic in your response of what you're grateful for, like the more authentic it comes across and genuine.
Yeah.
Right? And like I'm really grateful for you doing X, Y, and Z last week. That was awesome.
Yeah, that made me feel like I'm a priority in your life. It
Right.
made me feel like you really do want to keep this relationship going.
And again, it's an opportunity for us to look at what's going well. And
Yep.
and we're ending on a good note, right?
Yep.
And we are also at that same time reinforcing the things we want and the behaviors we want from each other.
Right, right.
So it's important.
What is something that we should do that we haven't? That kind of goes along the lines of, do we miss anything? But it's a specific question to ask because it could be something that we haven't done in a while that we used to like to do. And we just, for whatever reason, we forgot about it.
Like camping. We haven't gone camping. We talk about it a lot,
We
but we still
do.
haven't gone.
We love camping. We absolutely do love like a couple of day camping for sure. And we need to like redo that. That was one of the things that we had in our last check-in. 2 check-ins ago, I think.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Yeah, next year we're just like, yeah, we got to go do some camping. So we'll definitely have to do that. And then lastly, like we said, express gratitude for each other, what you're grateful for you, and what's in your life. So that's kind of like an activity at the end that we always like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, that's quite a bit. Like, I'm curious. We'll make this available. We'll put a link to a Google PDF or something of this. And you guys take and utilize this as you want. If you want to use it as an idea to, like, build your own, that's totally fine. That's what we did. But being intentional and doing check-ins, make it a day. I don't care. Do what you want, but be intentional with check-ins and make sure you're doing them with your spouse because it's important.
Yeah.
And we have found that it helps us tremendously.
It does.
And maybe as we get more involved, we'll just be so amazing at our relationship, we'll never need them again. But you never know. I think all relationships could benefit just to ensure that you're getting on the same page where it really counts.
Yep.
So,
And where does it really count?
why?
It counts in your relationship.
Oh, yeah, where? Yeah, in your relationship. So, well, that's all we got for today, right, babe? Or do we have more? No, we always have more.
We always have more.
But that just means you're going to
But-
have to check in next time
That's right.
for all the other goody stuff that's amazing.
So if you guys haven't already, I know we keep saying this, but definitely follow us on everything. We're on all of your favorite streaming channels, all your favorite like video channels. If we haven't gotten on one, just shoot us an email, let us know. That information is in the thing down below. Like this video, share it, and we really do appreciate it. And from our family to yours,
Have a good night.
have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye. We're gonna go have fun now.
Yep, bye.